Hey everybody, welcome to the next week. Here we are, it's Monday morning. It's actually Friday right now, like I usually say in my videos, but you'll be seeing this on Monday. A couple of things we want to talk about, the status of the company. We want to talk about a little bit of understanding our contracts. We want to talk about appropriate ways to purchase or sell rental properties. And we're going to cover these things really quickly. And of course, my email, david@northwestpremiumhomes.com. If you have any further follow-up questions you'd like to ask, please just send them directly to me. So first and foremost, the status of the company. We are officially at a point now where the company is sustaining itself, which means that Amelia and I aren't paying for it out of pocket, which is fantastic. So the spring rush is just about on us and we're doing really well. We're putting new contracts up almost daily, and that's exactly what we want to see. So if you're lead genning and you're not having a lot of progress in that lead generation, now's a really good time to grab a more experienced agent or a higher producing agent and get into that fold and start helping them along. I know that we all have lives. I know that we all have things going on, weddings and personal experiences. But that being the case, it's always good to keep at least one finger on the button when it comes to your business. So another thing that we walked into recently was an agent from a different brokerage had submitted some documentation in the form of an offer, and they, even though had a wealth of experience, had not actually gone through the legality of the offer contract that they submitted. And in that, we as a brokerage, we're very technical when it comes to our knowledge. We're very accurate and detail focused. And that being said, the two personalities kind of clashed a little bit with an emotional party on one side and a more technically savvy aspect on the other. And of course, everything worked out the way it was supposed to work out, which was fantastic. But my recommendation this week is, if you have time, is pull up a Form 21, which is the standard purchase and sale agreement, or pull up a Form 28, which is the standard purchase and sale agreement for a condominium. And I want you to read it cover to cover. And I really want you to pay attention to the areas that talk about leases and rentals. It's, I believe, paragraph F of the Form 21 and 28. So there's a wealth of knowledge in there. And the conversation in that form is very loose. It's very open-ended. And that creates, anytime you have that gray area, you're going to be looking at several different possibilities and eventually potentially leading to mediation, which is where we really don't want to be, or leading to suit. Like a lawsuit, which is absolutely where we don't want to be. And of course, if that gets to that point, then there's more conversations to be had. So take an opportunity this week. If you have time, it usually takes about 15 minutes to get through it and really comprehend what you're reading. And before you ask somebody, a client or a friend, or even worse, a family member, to sign a document that you don't know 100% what says, make sure you correct that. Make sure that you are confident on every form that you're asking another person to sign. And I don't mean that as in having an expert knowledge so you can explain it, because that is a fantastic thing. But the brass tack of that conversation is we want to make sure that we have this full understanding, so when we're doing our fiduciary duty for our clients, we're not putting them in harm's way when it comes to either potential mediation or potential suit. And those are really important things. If you have some time, addition to that, follow up some great questions with some Annie Fitzsimmons YouTube videos. She's the legal guru of the state. And then, of course, my email, david@northwestpremiumhomes.com. With any questions, just shoot me a quick email and fill me in on what you're wondering about, and we'll get back to you on that really quick. Let's see. Another thing is, I wanted you guys to know that this office in Whatcom County is now officially open 40 hours a week. So we are here from the hours of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Usually it's Amelia and Tova in the morning time and me in the evening time. And typically I don't get out of here till 6. So if you're trying to get to the office, you don't have a key yet, or if you just want an in-person meeting, an impromptu meeting, come on in, have a seat. There's room to work. We have a front desk. We have a great neighbor that has great cookies, and I'm watching a dog right now run circles looking for scraps, so it's always kind of amusing. All right, can you tell I love videos? Yeah, I love making these, best part of my job. So, talking a little bit more on the subject of understanding the ethics and the principles behind a transaction that has tenants in place. So on the listing, so the very first thing, so let's put you in the position of a listing agent, and you're listing a property that has tenants in place. So we've had these be very successful on one end, and we've had these be very unsuccessful. We've messed it up every single chance we got, and we've learned from every mistake we've made. So at this point, we're pretty damn good at it. So that being said, a copy of the leases and a clear copy of the leases is something that you need to have on hand. And what we've learned in a previous transaction is, even if you're technically right in the contract, it may not be of benefit to your client and the other client if you have to enforce the very strict rules of it. So one of the things I like to say is, if I'm reading between these lines, what other lines do I have to start reading in between to understand how this contract works? And what I mean by that is that all we have to base our traction on, our speed on, our diligence on, and our fiduciary duties on are the things agreed upon in that contract. So understanding it is key, and having those leases on hand is part of understanding that contract. Now, in the recent transaction that we had that didn't go well, when asked for an explanation of what the buyer would like to do with the leases that were in place for the place that we're listing, they did not respond. So we had to go by the contract law. And the contract law says that this property, if not altered by a request from the buyer, is going to maintain its status as a rental property. Now, nobody did anything right, but on the other end, nobody did anything intentionally wrong in this transaction. But the transaction did end up falling apart. And the reason it fell apart is the buyer's agent, the person on the other side, had the great idea that they were going to buy an investment property for their buyer. Their buyer loved the property. There were renters in place. They did not indicate the need to end the lease, so the lease was not ended. And then a week before closing, that's when everybody started talking about it. Not enough time to gain traction, and the deal ended up falling apart. So our number one job here is to keep everybody in good legal standing, and our second focus here is to keep deals together. So it was kind of a kick. It was a long battle. It was a long conversation. And if you can learn anything from my experience in this and make it your own, is understand your contracts. Understand what you're having people sign. This goes into play especially with new construction. And I know that it seems like new construction would be easier, but really it's not. And some of the good examples there would be to look at the additional paperwork required by like D.R. Horton or Apex Homes. They have a lot of things in there that really just benefit the builder, not the buyer. And so if you're rushing to get these things signed and you don't have a good understanding of it, you could be pulling your clients in and out of contract inadvertently with your ignorance. So just make sure that before you sign anything, you understand that, before you have somebody else sign anything, you understand what they're signing. So that being said, that's about all I have for this week. Once again, you guys have my phone number. I'm sure all of you do. And if you don't have my email, it's david@northwestpremiumhomes.com, and I'll get back to your email super quick. I'll talk to you guys next week.